very good morning, dear students. Today we will discuss the last part of ionic equilibria 1. We are left with only one concept, which is called as a common ion effect. Okay. So in previous class we have discussed about deriving the expression for ionization constant, also called as a dissociation constant of a weak base, that is Kb, in terms of concentration of its a OH minus ion, and then it's a B plus and undissociated BOH molecule, that is in general form. And later we have derived an expression. So how to write the expression for Kb in terms of initial concentration C and alpha, where alpha is the degree of ionization. Okay, so that's we have derived these two expressions in the last two classes, that is under the heading ionic equilibria 1. Okay, so in previous class we have derived these two expressions. One is Kb is equal to, it's a concentration of B plus, that's equilibrium concentrations, all these are OH minus, divided by undissociated BOH molecule when it has attained an equilibrium. So we have also derived one more expression. Kb is equal to, for a weak base like NH4OH, for the dissociation of NH4OH, into it's a NH4 plus it's a OH minus, that is in terms of aqua. Okay, for this we have derived the expression for Kb by writing the initial form, where B plus means it's NH4 plus here, OH minus as it is, DOH means it's undissociated ammonium hydroxide. Okay, so in this way we have written NH4 plus, equilibrium concentration of OH minus, and then NH4OH. So this is the applicability of that particular formula. Then we have derived one more expression. Kb is equal to, it's a C alpha square divided by it's 1 minus alpha. Please remember where C is the initial concentration, so you must be very clear about the terms involved in that, then only you can use that formula in future. Okay, so where C is the initial concentration of what? It's ammonium hydroxide. Alpha is the degree of ionization. 1 minus alpha is the one more term you can write. And for very dilute condition, the alpha becomes negligible for a weak acids, and we can take, you will take this as a nearly equal to 1, and the only expression left out would be it's a C alpha square. That is not for all, and for only weak acid under dilute condition we can able to take that particular value in that way. Okay, so that is fine. So after that we have also discussed in the previous class regarding pH scale. So by mathematical expression, pH is equal to negative logarithm to the base 10 of molar concentration of H plus ion. In this way we have defined the pH scale. We are dividing the pH scale between 0 to 14. So it's 0 to up to 7, it's acidic. Then 7 to 14, it's a basic. Then exactly at 7, it is said to be neutral. Like that we have divided. So pH is a measurement of molar concentration of H plus ion. This is one of the method to measure the concentration of H plus ion. And according to that definition, we also define POH. How to write POH? It's a negative log of molar concentration of the term which is there in front of that to the base 10, like that. So we also written certain values. pH plus POH. What's the value of pH plus POH? Is equal to 14, because concentration of H plus ion is 10 to minus 7. When you take negative log of that, it becomes 7. Like that, pOH is also equal to 14. And this is 2 only at 298 Kelvin. Okay. And even I have given one more expression while discussing this one only. Product of dissociation constant of weak acid and weak base K into Kb is equal to Kw, where Kw is product of ionic product of water. So Kw is equal to it's the product of molar concentration of H plus ion and that of OH minus ion. So again, the derivation is not there for our syllabus, but you must know at least these are the important expressions which are useful in solving the problems also. Okay, but he has not mentioned particular term, but at least you must know. So whenever you are studying about the pH scale, you must aware about these concepts. Okay, so similarly, how to define pKa? P small letter, K capital letter, then subscript A. pKa is equal to minus log of K subscript A. Okay, so one more thing is how to correlate H and pH. If the concentration of H plus ion is more, if the concentration of H plus ion is more, then what's the value of pH? Just look at this one, log of higher value, but outside we have a minus sign. Means whenever the concentration of H plus ion is less, that less value and this minus, it becomes higher. Okay, say for example, one is 10 to minus 4, another one is 10 to minus 6. So these are the molar concentration of H plus ion. So among this one, which is higher value, this is higher value, this is lower value. Okay, when you take log of minus log of this value, in one case you will end up with pH is equal to 4, another case you will end up with pH equal to 6. So for lower concentration of H plus ion, for higher concentration of H plus ion, we will end up with higher value of pH or lower value of pH? Lower value of pH. They are vice versa. Okay, they are reciprocal relation. In what way? If H plus ion concentration is more, pH value is less. If H plus ion concentration is less, corresponding pH value is high. So please mind that. So if they have given two acidic solutions with two different pH, one acidic solution is having less pH, another acidic solution is having higher pH, on that base you must have a judgment. So pH value higher means lower concentration of H plus ion. pH value lower means higher concentration of H plus ion. So that is why we have mentioned it. So lower value of pH, that indicates it's more acidic, and when it starts increasing, it starts reaching towards the basic or neutrality. Okay, so basic means higher value of pOH. Okay, so like that. That is fine. So up to this much we have discussed, and only thing I have left with this particular unit, that's of course we have single unit only, chemical energetics and ionic equilibria 1. He has mentioned it as a first unit with 15 hours of syllabus. So as I have studied firstly the ionic equilibria 1, because in the second unit already madam has started the ionic equilibria 2. So this topic will be helpful for that unit. So that's what I have taken this as a first discussion. Okay, so in this I have left with one more concept which is called as a common ion effect. As we know, common ion effect, this is based upon Leach-Ateliers principle. So what do you mean by Leach-Ateliers principle? Leach-Ateliers principle says with respect to the equilibrium reaction, if any system which is in equilibrium, if you disturb that equilibrium by varying temperature, pressure or concentration or any other means, always that equilibrium system wants to retain its original state. That is our Leach-Ateliers principle. Say for example, if I call NH4OH, dissociation of a weak base NH4OH, which is dissociated as NH4 plus is OH minus. Okay, so this is in presence of water and they are hydrated, therefore I have written it as aqua. It's an solution. Okay, fine. Then I said this is an equilibrium system. The Lee-Chatelier principle says, suppose at equilibrium the number of, so at equilibrium, say for example there are 60 NH4 plus ions plus 60 OH minus ions. 60 OH minus ions. So this is not experimental data. Just to convince this, I have taken this value. Don't take it as a granted and don't take it as a practical values. Always I used to say, wherever I am taking certain values to convince the concept, only that is a theoretical view. That is a theoretical view. It will never be practical applicability. Okay? See, I am available with 60 NH4 plus and 60 OH minus ions. Say for example, initially there are 100. So this is initial concentration, you can say. 100 NH4OH molecules. Among 100 NH4OH molecules, if one NH4OH is dissociated, you will end up with one NH4 plus and one OH minus ion. Okay? Say out of 100, then how many would be get dissociated? Out of 100, say for example, 60 would be dissociated. How much would be left? It is like C minus C alpha. So before we have studied this in the previous section. Okay, so C minus C alpha means it's the amount which is undissociated. Okay, so at equilibrium, out of 160 molecules will be dissociated, I have left with hardly 40. Okay, so what I want to say is that if I add around 10 NH4 plus ions to this system, this system I am adding 10 NH4 plus ions, that is in the form of strong electrolyte like NH4Cl. Take it as a strong electrolyte containing one of the common ion of its weak electrolyte. Okay, so this NH4 plus ion is common ion to the weak base, that is NH4OH. Okay, and what will happen? Indirectly, if I add 10 NH4Cl molecules to this, 10 NH4 plus ions should be get added. Total number of ions becomes 70. Okay. Are you increase the concentration of NH4 plus ions which are already in equilibrium? Yes, I have disturbed this by increasing the concentration of one of the ion here. That is common ion NH4 plus. Then what will happen to this equilibrium? So this equilibrium always want to resist this change. Always it wants to regain its original state, either by shifting the equilibrium to the left side or by right side. Okay. So what's the situation here? There are 70 NH4 plus ions before 60, at equilibrium 60. When I add 10 NH4 plus ions, indirectly I have disturbed this equilibrium by increasing the concentration, by varying the concentration. Okay. So in order to have again 60 NH4 plus ions, then whether the reaction is get shifted in backward direction or forward direction, obviously if the reaction is shifted in forward direction, more and more NH4OH would be get dissociated to give NH4 plus and OH minus. Indirectly, by favoring forward reaction, the NH4 plus ion number would be go on increasing. But when more and more these extra NH4 plus ions, when they combine with these OH minus ions, then the reaction is shifted back. And to form more number of undissociated ammonium hydroxide molecules. Okay, so anyhow, what will happen here? These increased NH4 plus ions, they react with OH minus ions which are there in the solution, that is from water, to get converted back into NH4OH. So before its dissociation is more, and now if the number 40, it becomes 50, like that. Okay, so then are we calling whether dissociation of NH4OH is increased in presence of more number of NH4 plus ions? No, by adding more number of NH4 plus ion, this number will be get increased because the reaction is shifted in a backward direction. Okay, so therefore what will happen? We can say that the depression or decrease in the degree of dissociation of weak electrolyte takes place. Very important. What will happen by adding more NH4 plus ion, that is in the form of a strong electrolyte, the reaction is shifted in a backward direction. Less number of NH4 plus ions should be there with respect to equilibrium, and here this number will be go on increasing. That means what? It's ionization, degree of ionization will be get decreased. Okay, so extent of ionization before it will be 0.4 almost. It's a 0.6, and this 0.6 alpha value will be get decreased. Okay, so decrease means that is our depression or decrease in the degree of dissociation or degree of ionization of a weak electrolyte. Very important. In what way it is get decreased? Weak electrolyte takes place when strong electrolyte having common ion to the weak electrolyte is added to it. Okay, so when you add strong electrolyte containing common ion to the given weak electrolyte, when you add that kind of strong electrolyte containing common ion, then what will happen to dissociation? So dissociation, degree of dissociation or degree of ionization of a weak electrolyte is decreased or depressed, and this is what we call it as common ion effect. This is called as common ion effect. Okay, so what's the definition we can give? So common ion effect is the depression or decrease in the degree of ionization or dissociation. Depression or decrease in the degree of ionization or dissociation so depression or decrease in the degree of ionization, also called as dissociation of what? Of weak electrolyte in presence of strong electrolyte containing common ion to it. Okay, indirectly in presence means when you add strong electrolyte containing common ion to this weak electrolyte. Strong electrolyte containing common ion, when it is added to the weak electrolyte, then there is a depression or decrease in the degree of ionization or dissociation, which is called as a common ion effect. And this is what I have explained here with this particular concept. Please remember, the common ion effect is based upon Leach-Ateliers principle. Okay, so we have discussed it in PUC first year classes, that is under the heading equilibrium. Okay, Leach-Ateliers principle is studied under the heading equilibrium. Okay, so this is all about the ionic equilibria 1. So in next class we will start with chemical energetics. Under that we will mainly study the basics of thermodynamics and thermochemistry, important terms, review of important terms involved in thermodynamics and thermochemistry. So like what you mean by thermodynamics, what are the types of system, means terms involved in the thermodynamics, like what you mean by system surrounding boundary, types of systems like open system, closed system, isolated system. Okay, then reversible and irreversible processes. So isothermal, adiabatic, like that. So various processes involved in that. And on that particular base, we can able to define what you mean by state variable, what you mean by state function. Okay, so that is also discussed in that particular part under the basics. Okay, so he has not. See, the name of the first unit is chemical energetics. And ionic equilibria 1. So now we have completed one of the important part of this unit number 1. Unit number 1, that is ionic equilibria part 1. Of course, ionic equilibria part 2 is there in second unit. So in first unit, today only we will going to start with chemical energetics. Okay, so which is nothing but it's a basics of the two subunits. One is thermodynamics and the other one is thermochemistry. Okay, so very interesting. So in first PUC we have studied this unit, thermodynamics. Thermo means it's heat. Dynamics means it's something movement. Okay, so thermodynamics is a branch of physical chemistry which deals with interconversion of energies. Okay, so but yeah, in our chemistry you will mainly deal with interconversion of heat and work. Thermodynamics is a branch of physical chemistry which mainly deals with the heat into work or work into heat or interconversion of any form of energy, one form of energy into another form of energy, that is studied under the heading thermodynamics. Okay, so mainly in chemistry you will relate this thermodynamics in terms of heat energy and its relation with work, or work to heat or heat to work. So such kinds of interconversions are studied under the heading thermodynamics. Okay, so as a basic I am going to say, according to, so from the equilibrium topic, from the concept of equilibrium, after studying the equilibrium, you will came to know the extent of reaction, how much extent of reaction, how much of reaction is get completed, extent of reaction, whether reaction has completed to the extent of 90% or only it has completed to the extent of 10%, like that would be getting a judgment on the basis of its reaction quotient Q and that of equilibrium constant K. So with these two relations we will came to know the extent of reaction, direction of the reaction, whether a reaction shifts to the right side or left side using these two expressions. If you will get a higher value of equilibrium constant, then what's the meaning of that? So most of the reaction is completed. If you get lower value of equilibrium constant, then we can came to the conclusion that the reaction has completed to the lesser extent, means very large amount of reaction has taken place. Okay, like that. So we can able to judge the extent of reaction or direction of the reaction, whether the reaction shifts to the forward direction or it would be get shifted in the backward direction. All such things should be studied under the heading equilibrium. Okay, so in this thermodynamics, we will mainly deal with feasibility of a reaction. So under chemical kinetics, one more topic, under chemical kinetics, okay. So first, if you take a reaction, whether the reaction takes place by its own, means spontaneously, or whether the reaction is continued in presence of an external agents. External agents means that is takes place only after increasing the temperature or in presence of very high pressure or by using certain chemicals. If that reaction is carried, then we cannot call it as a spontaneous, we cannot call it as a feasible. You can made it into feasible by using external aids, means that is called as non-spontaneous reactions. I am talking about the spontaneity. Spontaneity means whether the reaction is going to occurs or not occurs. That answer would be obtained from the heading thermodynamics by using certain relations that will be studied later using Clausius-Clapeyron equation and that of Gibbs-Helmholtz equation, that you will came to know the relations. Okay, fine. So in thermodynamics, you will mainly, after studying this topic, you will came to know whether the reaction takes place or whether the reaction takes place in presence of an external aid or external agency. Okay. So this feasibility, feasible means reaction is going to occur by its own. Feasible. Non-feasible means the reaction is not going to happen. So that is called as non-spontaneous reaction. That reaction can be also made to occur only by in presence of an external aid. Okay. So this feasibility of reaction, this can be studied and you will get the answer for this after studying this thermodynamics. After studying this equilibrium, you can able to judge the extent of reaction whether it has completed to the maximum extent or lesser extent, that is called as extent of reaction or direction of the reaction. That is for that question we will get the answer after completion of this equilibrium unit. And as like in chemical kinetics, the name itself says chemical means chemical reaction. Kinetics means its rate, speed of the reaction. Okay. So here it talks about whether the reaction is occurring or not, and this talks about extent, to what extent reaction is completed, and it talks about how fast that reaction is going to occur, whether the reaction takes place for 2 years, whether the reaction is going to takes place within a half an hour or whether it happens within 1 minute. So with respect to time factor, that will be studied under the heading chemical kinetics. Okay. So of course we have studied all these 3 units, very interesting regarding chemical processes. Okay. So that will be studied under the heading, different headings. Equilibrium, already we have studied ionic equilibrium. Just now we have studied ionic equilibrium part 1, and madam was already dealing with ionic equilibrium part 2. Okay. So in next semester or third, fourth or any of fifth, sixth, we will be also having certain discussions on chemical kinetics. They will going to have that discussion. So how it is able to decide the rate of reaction or speed of the reaction. Okay. So today you will mainly concentrate on the topic or the term thermodynamics. Okay. So what you mean by thermodynamics and what it is useful, how it is useful to study the reaction, that would be useful in expecting whether the reaction occurs or not occurs. That can be studied. We can take that judgment after thermodynamics using the relationship between Gibbs free energy, whether that Gibbs free energy is get decreased during a reaction or increased during a reaction. On that base delta G, whether it is greater than 0 or less than 0, negative or positive or equal to 0. On that base you can able to judge whether the reaction is taking place with the spontaneity or non-spontaneity. Okay. So that is different and that is studied under the heading Gibbs-Helmholtz equation. Okay. So you will start with the basics involved in this. So before going to go in details of this thermodynamics, you must know certain important terms, at least what it says, the important terms involved in the thermodynamics are important terms we can say. Okay. So firstly, we are going to study about system. surrounding and boundary. Don't try to write the definition of this, not necessarily, but you must have certain clarity regarding these words, because in various cases I will use these words: system, surrounding, boundary. At least you must have that mental picture in your mind, that so these terms will be having this meaning like that. Okay, fine. If I take a beaker, take one beaker and pour certain amount of water to it and close this beaker with a watch glass again. Okay, so I will call, my interest is with respect to the changes occurring in this particular area. I am studying, I am observing. Okay, I am doing the property measurement only in this particular area, then I will call it as a system. Okay, so system is a part of overall universe, not the universe. Okay, so it's a small portion of the universe where observations are made. If you are doing certain observations with respect to measurement, with respect to certain changes or whatever we can say, then we can call that particular area of that universe or that part of universe is called as a system. Where observations are doing, you are doing certain observations with respect to change in temperature, you are doing certain observation with respect to change in volume, or change in heat energy, or change in internal energy, change in enthalpies. Such observations if you are doing in a particular area or with respect to that particular part of universe, it is called as a system. System is a part of universe where you are doing the certain observations. And remaining portion other than this system, remaining all this portion is called as surrounding. Then what is boundary? Boundary is nothing but it's sometimes imaginary, sometimes it is an real. Okay, so here the boundary is real because so this is conducting part and this is also closed vessel. This beaker is closed with a watch glass, say for example. Then this is also called as a boundary. Okay, so this boundary is now real, it exists. Sometimes you can view. So it's an imaginary real part which separates the system and surroundings. Is called as a boundary. Okay, so these are the terms you can correlate with respect to system, surrounding, and that of boundary. Okay, now we have classified the systems into three types, mainly types of system, and simply going with the basics. Don't concentrate much on this because these are just terms involved in thermodynamics. Because whenever I am talking about one particular definition, I will use system, open system, closed system. At least you must have that idea. Just to get that, I am discussing, nothing more than that. Okay, so you will not ask what is system, what is surrounding, what is boundary, give an example, or you will never ask such kinds of questions here. Okay, so but types of systems should be important. You must know what is happening there. Okay, so one is open system. Second one, it is a closed system. Third one, it is isolated system. The name itself says open. Open means here there is no real boundary to separate system and surrounding. It is open with the surroundings. Say for example, if I take a beaker, keep water and don't close this beaker. Don't close this beaker with any material, okay, like watch glass or anything. Simply keep it open. And what will happen? These water vapors will be go on exchanging with surroundings, and certain water vapors will be get entered into this particular liquid form. Like that, this exchange is continuously happening, and we can call it as an open system. Then what is open system? Open system is a system where matter can exchange with surroundings and matter can enters into the system. System to surroundings, surroundings to system. Matter can exchange. Matter means composition, chemical constituents. One more thing is also get exchanged between the system. This is our system, and the remaining portion would be surrounding. So one is matter, another one is heat. In open system, both heat and matter are exchanged between the system and that of surroundings is called as an open system. Okay. So the name itself says closed. Something is stopped to exchange matter. Matter will not go into the surroundings, or so from the surrounding matter is not entering into the system, but only one thing will going to exchange here is its heat energy through this boundary. It is called as closed system. Okay. So and come close this beaker with any isolated system. I know if I keep this hot water in this beaker, closed beaker, after 5 to 10 minutes that hot water becomes cold water, because here this boundary is conductive. This boundary is conducting material which allows the heat energy through it, and that makes it to transfer its heat energy to the surroundings, and it becomes cool. Okay. So what will happen here? The materials or constituents or matter which is present in the system is not exchanged with the surrounding, but heat energies get exchanged. Heat energy is get exchanged between the system and that of the surroundings. It is called as closed system. The name itself says closed. What is closed? The matter is get closed in the system. They are not get exchanged with the surroundings. Okay, so that's what is closed. It will not going to exchange. So the name says it's isolated. When the boundary is isolated, it's an insulated material which is not allowing even the heat energy to pass through it, then what will happen? Neither matter nor heat energy is exchanged with the system and that of surrounding. Such kinds of system is called as an isolated system. Okay, thermos flask. So why we are using thermos flask? Because the constituents which is kept inside that, its temperature is not get decreased within a short period of time, and also the matter which is kept inside that is also kept as it is. Okay, like that. So if I take a thermos flask, it's an example for isolated system. What will happen? So here very important thing is this material is insulated. Boundary should be insulated. When that boundary is insulated, it will not allow heat energy to pass through it. Then we can call it as a isolated system. So here there is no exchange of matter. There is no exchange of heat with respect to the surroundings and that of system. So between the system and surroundings, neither heat energies get exchanged nor matter. They are kept as it is, and therefore we are called it by the name isolated system. Okay. So in next class we will discuss about the first law of thermodynamics and second law of thermodynamics, and then certain important terms involved in the thermodynamics like internal energy, so then enthalpy of the system, and depending upon the conditions, when to call it as a standard state system, and when it is simply called it as a system, normal system. Okay, like that we will be going to discuss in the next class. Okay, so today we'll stop at this particular discussion. Thank you.